And we are back. Let's talk about it. Appreciate y'all for being here. This is going to be a series of reactions today. I'm going to give you my entire day 2 reaction. And then, later on in the day, I'm going to give you like my live reaction of my pick by pick day 3 joints or whatever. We're going to do it like that as opposed to a long live stream. But as of now, I want to give you my thoughts on the Cowboys day 2. This is what I think happened to the Cowboys on day 2. Really, it also happened day 1, I think. I think the Cowboys had a particular player in mind at a certain position. And, we all know that the Cowboys typically have a group of guys that they have in mind to where, hey, we want this guy at this position. If that don't work, we're going to get this, and this guy. So what I think happened is a series of runs started to make dudes come off the board. And then we just kind of ended up with the dudes that were left on the board. Now that may sound like a bad thing in theory, like, hey, we're left with the leftover guys, but that's what happens when you win games. We pick at the back of these rounds, and we typically end up with dudes that I wouldn't say that we maybe didn't want, but they just weren't our first choice. For example, I know the Cowboys were a fan of Sam Laporta, linebacker from Iowa. However, Sam Laporta was not available. Then this run on tight end happened, and now we're here going, okay, we want a tight end. And I know this for sure because going into day 1, really, it was 2 coaches that were kind of lingering around. It was Coach AD and it was Coach Lunda Wells. So what that meant to me was, hey, we're going to get a D lineman somewhere and we're going to get this tight end somewhere. And whatever order it was, we don't know. So I do think a real life conversation about tight end in the first round was a real thing. And then maybe they'll go D line later. But how it panned out was Mazi Smith was your first pick and Luke Schoonmaker was your second pick. Now, I personally had Luke Schoonmaker a little bit further down my board. I did like the player, though, just to be clear there, just to, put that context out. I did like the player Schoonmaker, right? And if you think about what Mike McCarthy and the guys were always talking about, what they liked in their tight ends, what they liked in these, true wide guys, these inline guys that can displace and play a little bit of receiver sometimes, these dudes that are primarily blockers with upside in the receiving game. That's the real tight ends that we talk about these guys like. And so we knew Schoonmaker was a guy that was on that list. He was a 30 visit guy and he fits that description. So when Schoonmaker was the pick, yeah, it was a little early for me, but with the context of, hey, we were looking to go tight end at some point and tight ends were running out. Right, the tight end started flying off the board. So Schoonmaker was kind of just the guy that was left there. And to be fair, I do think that they like Schoonmaker. To be fair, I like Schoonmaker. Do I like Schoonmaker in the second round? You can talk me into it, but my biggest thing about not particularly being the biggest fan of the value of the pick is I just knew we had to go guard there. I felt like the Cowboys needed to prioritize guard at some point. And then there was this whole idea of, hey, we're taking best players available. I know y'all like Drew Sanders, linebacker from Arkansas. I know y'all like Drew Sanders. So he's just kind of falling down the board right now. So now we're in this situation where we have Schoonmaker, in which he's a cool player. I like Schoonmaker. And I can tell you exactly how we're going to use him in a second. But in my mind, I was just hell-bent on, bro, Drew Sanders got to be the dude right here because it just makes sense. But Foster King told me, he asked me on the broadcast that we did, it was like, Voch, do you think the idea that the fact that we drafted Mazi Smith early is going to stop us from taking just another defender? At some point, we knew that the Cowboys wanted to put big help on the offensive side of the ball to give Dak as much help as possible, right? So just instead of going like a day 3 or a third round offensive threat or whatever, before getting into your third round pick, did it make sense to pick 2 back-to-back defensive guys that weren't necessarily going to help Dak Prescott here? And it kind of, I think, that was one of the bigger reasons why Drew Sanders wasn't a pick. Hey, man, we just went Mazi. Let's get a guy on offense, and then if we're going to get back in the defense, we could do that in round 3, and that's actually what happened. So the last few drafts the Cowboys have had, it's been this makeover. It's been this makeover to get physical dudes, to get mean dudes, to get aggressive dudes. It's been all about stopping the run. It's been all about, running tougher. How can we be a more physical football team? And I think these drafts to where it may not be the picks that we want directly. And look, to be fair, media scouts, fan scouts, however you want to call us, we're not in that room. So we don't know the exact philosophy that the Cowboys are drafting with, right? So in our mind, we may be looking at the board going, hey man, Jalen Hyatt is there because he's a good player. Let's get him. I do think that they think that Jalen Hyatt's a good player. But what if the Cowboys walked into this thing with the mindset of, hey man, I want to get physical. Last year we brought in Tyler Smith. That was a hit. Sam Williams out here body slamming people and things of that nature, bro. Like we're just trying to be a more physical team in general, Clark ended up playing and starting for you. Deron Bland was a guy that played and started for you. Ferguson was a young dude that's probably your tight end one still. Now we just see this change in physicality in terms of the type of players that we're looking for. So when you see a big physical dude like Mozzie Smith, and now we're looking at Luke Schoonmaker as a tight end, we're going to be doing the film session later, so just keep your eyes on that. But as far as a blocking tight end, like he is a dude that's going to give us some mismatches in terms of I can leave this dude on a D lineman, right? And I can bump all the rest of the run protection over. I can bump all the rest of the, passing numbers, right? When we go, okay, one defender for one offensive blocker, two defenders for two offensive blockers. That's what I mean by like bump the numbers over, right? Most of the time, if you get this tight end that's not good at blocking defensive ends, then what we'll do is, okay, we'll put a tackle on this end and chip with a tight end. That'll be our, solution for blocking somebody. But now we're in a situation where, hey, we got Luke Schoonmaker, who is a certified, bona fide, D-end blocker, right? If you put Schoonmaker on a D-end and we're sure that we can block that D-end with Schoonmaker, now we could put this tackle on somebody else and that'll lead this guard to somebody else. We could just bump that number blocking responsibility 5 guys over because we feel good about this backside end being taken care of. That's what Luke is going to do for you. Plus, if there's any coaches on this staff that I trust at all, it's the D-line coach Aiden Dirty, cat from London, D-line coach. Or the UK, we just gonna say UK because I don't know exactly where you're from. But D-line coach Aiden Dirty. I trust his coaching and I trust Lunda Wells, the tight ends coach. And if anything we know about these Cowboys is that they're gonna take a tight end and that tight end is gonna be a blocking tight end, and we can develop that tight end into being a pass catcher, whether it be Dalton Schultz, whether it be Ferguson. Hendershot was more of a receiving guy, but they developed Hendershot into being more of a blocking guy, right? So just think about what we do as a coaching staff, or what they do as a coaching staff, taking these players and developing them. So Schoonmaker is a certified blocker. We ain't got no problems with that, and I have confidence that if they want to develop him as a pass catcher, he has the athleticism to do it. It's just that Michigan didn't ask him to run many routes and catch many passes there. He did a lot more his last year there, but he does have the athletic profile that'll lend us some confidence that he can turn into a positive pass catcher. Now, when it comes to your third round pick, Demarvion Overshown from the University of Texas, it's interesting when me, Foots the King, and Will Steele did our live show yesterday. We were just doing the the day 2 reactions there. The first name that came to my mind when I was thinking about Overshown was like, hey man, he kind of got some Donovan Wilson in him, right? Not that I'm asking Overshown to play safety or anything, but just looking at Overshown and how he attacks the football, he looks like how Donovan Wilson attacks the football. Okay, cool. I wake up in the morning and I listen to the .com coverage. I listen to the linebackers coach talk about him. I listen to scouts talk about him. I listen to Mike McCarthy talk about him. I listen to Will McClay talk about him, and everybody just back to back has compared Demarvion Overshown to Donovan Wilson, right? So I just think that's just interesting, and it's good to see that Voch and some of the guys over in the building over there, they think the same thing about him. But he's a run hit guy. He's a super athlete. He's going to be longer, great size, great looking athlete, right? Pretty raw player. I think he has some problems with mental processing and things of that nature. But hey, man, if it's any coaching staff that I trust to take a raw player, coach a dude, fix a dude, it's the guys that we got right now. So as far as Overshown goes, it's two things really. I think we have the ability to develop him as a linebacker, as a run and hit linebacker. I think he's probably going to be a will guy. I don't know if you want him dealing with blocks too much. He probably got the athletic profile to fix that. But right now, I wouldn't want him dealing with any NFL level blocks. But as a running hit athlete type dude, yeah. That's the sauce that we want. But on top of that, right? Can he do some safety work also? Well, he's an ex-safety, so it makes a little bit of sense to me. But when I listen to the linebacker coach talk about it, when I listen to some of the other guys in the front office on the .com coverage, when I listen to them talk about Demarvion Overshown, I think they had the idea of let's put some weight on him and make him a downhill type player. So instead of being like a will linebacker where you like read side to side, right? You're reading horizontally and then you play sideline to sideline, in which he has the athletic ability to do that, and I think he will do some of that. I think they're gonna look at him not old man Anthony Barr, but think about what Anthony Barr was when he first came out. Anthony Barr being a end that translated into a linebacker, but they will still do downhill things with him, right? I wouldn't call it a Sam linebacker type of dude because we're still going to be playing nickel, but I think they're going to put some weight on him. You know how sometimes they'll just put Barr at the end of the line of scrimmage and let him rush. They'll put Van Der Esch at the end of the line of scrimmage and let him rush. In my Will McDonald interview, in which Will McDonald is a New York Jet now, he is not a Dallas Cowboy. In my Will McDonald interview, Will spoke to us, he told me about how Dan Quinn wanted to play him all over, like Micah Parsons, right? Just a dude you can play on the end and a dude that you can blitz in the middle sometimes. All right, cool, that's fun. All right, we did get Will McDonald. So now in my mind, I'm going, hey man, Drew Sanders is a guy that can do things like that. All right, cool, Drew Sanders is a guy that's gone. If you listen to this coaching staff now, if they still had to use a dude like that, I think Demarvion Overshown would be a good guy that they can use in that, like in that way. They can use him as a downhill guy. They can use him as a sideline to sideline runner. But as a pass rusher, you can rush from the edge and rush him from the middle. They're probably going to try to put some weight on him, and he's going to start off as a kicking teams guy, but I think he's going to develop into being one of those downhill linebacker pass rusher dudes next year. I know there's going to be some Cowboy fans that are kind of going to be upset about the idea that a lot of these guys aren't going to start for you day one. Well, I don't think this team has much room for guys to come in and start for you day one. I think the Cowboys have done a great job of, looking into players and building as much, building as much body on this roster as they possibly could. Like they went to deal with cornerback too. They dealt with D tackle. They dealt with wide receiver too. They dealt with, with everything. They went to go get Van Der Esch back. They brought Donald back. So in my mind, Demarvion Overshown is not going to be a guy that's starting for you. Good, great. That just means that you've built your team properly, right? Because now you're in a situation where you go, yeah, but okay, now he got to take Damone Clark's job if that's going to be the case. He got to take Van Der Esch's job if that's going to be the case. So Overshown, if he gonna play, he gonna have to take somebody's job. If he's going to play, he's going to have to take somebody's job. But that just means that this team was built really well. So in my mind, Overshown and even Schoonmaker, because I don't think he's taking Jake Ferguson's job. I think both players are going to rotate a bit, Schoonmaker and Demarvion Overshown. I think they're going to rotate a bit, and they're going to get active reps on this team. But in terms of being starters, I think they're future starters. Overshown and Schoonmaker. Boy, we got the longest last name second round out of everybody, don't it? Overshown and Schoonmaker. They're going to be two dudes that are future starters, but they're going to come in day one. They're going to be rotational guys, and that makes a little bit of sense because you put this team together pretty well. So that's all I got for y'all, man, on this breakdown of day two. Stay tuned. I'm going to be dropping my reactions to round 3. We're not going live today, but when the Cowboys do get on the clock, I will be making a video, and I'll be dropping my reactions as such. All right, y'all hold down for the Doski Wolves and Peace Kawisi. Look out for the film sessions also. I'll be working on this Schoonmaker and Overshown film session while I'll be watching the draft and working in between these picks here. Also too, don't forget to join my patreon.com/Voch Lombardi. When the draft is over, we're gonna start breaking down film of these guys like thoroughly. Sometimes when I watch film just as an evaluator of 200 people, I just kind of watch them and I figure them out, then I move on. Right, just get a good feel for the player. Well, they're ours now. They're Cowboys now. So with them being Cowboys, I'm going to watch as much film as I can find on them. I think I'm going to cap it off at like 5 games or something like that. So I got 5 Mozzie games. I got 5 Schoonmaker games. And I got 5 Overshown games. I may add an Overshown game just to see if I can find some safety film on him. But that's all I got for y'all today, man. And hey, be on the lookout for these day 3 reactions, all right? Y'all hold it down for the Doski Wolski and the Peace Kawisi. Till next time, volume.